We have spent a very long time treating nitrogen like something that comes in a bag, which is interesting because nitrogen is actually everywhere. Roughly 78% of the atmosphere is nitrogen gas. So, literally, every time you walk outside, you're standing underneath an enormous nitrogen supply. Your tomato plant, however, is surrounded by it and cannot use it. Imagine walking into a grocery store starving and they have all the food locked up. You're still starving. You can see it, you can smell it, but you can't get to the food. That is basically your tomato. Sounds kind of dramatic. Welcome to Before We Bought the Solution. This is Chapter 4 Grow Your Own Nitrogen. Because long before the garden center stacked bags of fertilizer 6 feet high, plants and bacteria had already negotiated their own arrangement. And unlike most modern contracts, this one has been working for millions of years free of charge. Plants need nitrogen for proteins, chlorophyll, enzymes, leaves, stems, basically all the green ambitious parts. And when nitrogen becomes scarce, plants are not subtle. Their leaves pale, growth slows, and everything begins looking slightly disappointed in you. Farmers recognized the problem long before anyone understood the chemistry. They knew that manure helped, they knew certain rotations helped, and they knew that legumes behaved differently. But the nitrogen itself was everywhere. It just wasn't available in a form most plants could use. There's plenty in the atmosphere, nothing on the plate. Yeah, basically, dinner was locked out. Atmospheric nitrogen is mainly N2, which is two nitrogen atoms joined by an extremely strong bond. It's very stable and also extremely stubborn. Most plants cannot simply grab N2 out of the air and turn it into a leaf. Something has to do the chemistry, and plants, being efficient, they outsource the difficult part naturally. Certain microorganisms can perform biological nitrogen fixation, and this is where legumes enter. Peas, beans, clover, alfalfa, vetch, a whole group of plants running one of agriculture's oldest partnerships while looking completely innocent above ground. In the 1830s, French agriculture chemist Jean-Baptiste Boussingault wanted to know where plant nitrogen came from. He's one of those 19th century scientists who looked at farming and apparently thought, I should weigh absolutely everything. And he did. The plant, the soil, the harvest, the nitrogen. If it could be put on a scale, Bossingalt wanted numbers. He compared legumes with other crops and found something strange. The legumes sometimes accumulated more nitrogen than the growing medium seemed capable of supplying. He didn't know about rhizobia yet. He didn't know the mechanism, but he had found the mystery. The arithmetic was refusing to behave. And whenever the arithmetic stops behaving, sooner or later, someone starts digging around the roots. Let's fast forward to the 1880s. German researchers Hermann Hellegro and Hermann Wilfarth began investigating nitrogen nutrition in legumes. Under nitrogen poor conditions, legumes struggled unless the right soil biology was present. Introduce the appropriate microorganisms, and root nodules appeared. Plants improved. Nitrogen accumulation changed. Well, there's your missing employee. The plant was not doing this alone. And in 1888, Hellegrill and Wilfarth published work connecting legumes, root nodules, microorganisms, and atmospheric nitrogen. Nearly 50 years after Bossinggold found the accounting problem, two Germans found the department responsible. Underground. Of course, it was underground. Look at the roots of a healthy legume participating in this partnership, and you may see little swellings. Those are called root nodules. And no, your pea plant has not developed some alarming medical condition. Those nodules are specialized structures where the plant and bacteria conduct their business together. Rhizobial bacteria live inside of them. There, the bacterias perform nitrogen fixation. Atmospheric nitrogen is converted into nitrogen compounds that the plants can use. So, hanging from the root of a clover plant are tiny biological nitrogen factories. No loading docks, no smokestacks, no semis backing into the driveway. Just several little pink bumps doing chemistry underneath your mulch. We really undersold this in elementary school. Now, before anyone announces that we've discovered free nitrogen, we should discuss the invoice because biology is very generous, but biology is not free. The plant captures sunlight through photosynthesis and produces carbohydrates. Some of that energy is sent below ground to support its bacterial partners. So essentially, the plant says, "Hey, I have sugar." And the bacteria says, "Wonderful. If you give me a little bit of sugar, I will go get you nitrogen." And the plant says, "Great, you're hired." There are no attorneys, no quarterly meetings, no automatic renewal fees, just carbon going down and nitrogen coming back out. The plant pays in sugar. The bacteria uses an enzyme system, and it's called nitrogenous, to convert atmospheric nitrogen into ammonia. And the nitrogen can then be incorporated into amino acids, proteins, and other compounds that the plant needs. The plant gets nitrogen, and the bacteria gets carbohydrates and shelter. Everyone wins, except perhaps the gardener who just carried home a 50-pound bag of fertilizer and is now staring suspiciously at the clover. But here's an important correction. The legume does not immediately dump all of that nitrogen into the surrounding soil. It uses mulch of itself: leaves, stems, roots, seeds. The wider system gains nitrogen as roots and nodules turn over and plant residuals decompose. So the better strategy is not plant clover, get instant fertilizer. It is grow nitrogen, keep it cycling. It's less magical, but far more useful. This is where garden advice tends to get a little enthusiastic. Plant clover next to the tomato, and the tomato gets free nitrogen. Well, maybe some. But I would not build an entire fertility plan around clover behaving like a tiny underground sprinkler. The better strategy is simpler. Grow the legume. Let the roots and nodules work. Let the plant build biomass. Then keep that material on site. Cut it, mulch it, compost it. Leave appropriate roots in place. The legume brings nitrogen into the biological system. Decomposition helps move it through the entire soil food web. And apparently, soil ecology needs logistics. Now we arrive at one of my favorite contradictions. This partnership costs the plant energy. So, if plenty of readily available nitrogen is already in the soil, why would the plant keep sending sugar to support bacteria making more? Well, it wouldn't. The plant has a budget, which means we can perform this remarkable sequence, plant a legume because we want biological nitrogen fixation, apply lots of nitrogen fertilizer, and then convince the plant that nitrogen fixation is unnecessary. And then we sit back and wonder why nodulation and fixation decline to work. Well, we hired the factory, but then we delivered the finished product ourselves and then asked why production slowed down. Gardening occasionally resembles corporate management more than anyone would like to admit. So, what does this look like in a suburban yard? Well, it's not real exotic. Peas grow in the vegetable bed as well as beans. And when we're done growing the season, we cover it with a legume. Clover where appropriate. A legume cover crop between vegetable seasons. And perhaps alfalfa or another suitable legume where the space makes sense. Grow it, let the root system develop, let the nodules develop, and then keep as much of that material in the biological system as practical. Cut it, mulch it, compost it, and leave healthy roots where appropriate. Return the nitrogen instead of exporting it to yard waste bags. And if you're considering rhizobial inoculants, ask yourself one question first. Do I actually need it? Some soils already contain compatible rhizobia, some do not. If the appropriate bacteria is missing, inoculation can help. But this is before we bought the solution. So we don't begin at the shelf itself. We begin with the system. What is already here? What is missing? What can the plant do? What can the microbes do? And only then do we decide whether the answer needs a price tag. Plants make fertilizer out of thin air. Well, that's close, but no. The atmosphere supplies the nitrogen, the plant supplies the energy, and the bacteria performs the chemistry. And the root nodule is where the partnership comes together. Bossinggold found the mystery, Hellegrell and Wilfarth found the partnership, and later scientists identified the organism and worked out the chemistry. And today, we can use the same biology in a suburban garden, not because fertilizer is bad, but because every bag is unnecessary. And not because every soil already has everything it needs. The lesson is far simpler. Nitrogen does not always have to arrive in the back of your car or truck. Sometimes the fertilizer factory is already growing. It has leaves, it has roots, it has bacteria doing chemistry in tiny nodules underground, and apparently it accepts payments in sugar. Healthy soil grows healthy ecosystems.